Welcome to Rock Music Archives, where the greatest songs in rock history are more than just music. They're stories waiting to be uncovered. Some rock songs become hits the moment they're released. Others become legends years later. One of the songs on this list wasn't even released as a single. Another didn't truly explode until a Hollywood movie brought it back decades later. One was rediscovered by millions because of a man riding a skateboard with a bottle of cranberry juice. And another has now outlived the generation that first made it famous. These aren't stories about forgotten songs. They're stories about songs that refused to stay in the past. Songs that found new audiences, new meanings, and in some cases became far bigger than they ever were the first time around. Tonight we're counting down 15 rock songs that proved one remarkable thing. Sometimes the biggest hit comes years after the music was made. This is Rock Music Archives, and these are 15 rock songs that time made legendary. Number 15, The Velvet Underground, Sweet Jane, 1970. When Sweet Jane appeared on the Velvet Underground's fourth album, Loaded, in November 1970, the record label was hoping for the hit the band had never quite managed to deliver. It didn't come. Loaded never reached the American Top 200, and the Velvet Underground, despite 4 albums of genuinely groundbreaking music, remained a cult concern.
Oh, when she smiled, oh, when she smiled.
Lou Reed left the band within months of recording it, but Sweet Jane didn't disappear. Musicians kept it alive. Mott the Hoople covered it within 2 years, and it became one of the most re-recorded songs in Reed's own live catalog for the rest of his career.
CJ.
As the Velvet Underground's reputation grew from cult footnote to the acknowledged blueprint for punk, alternative, and art rock, Sweet Jane grew with it. By the time Rolling Stone ranked it among the greatest songs ever recorded decades later, it had become one of the most instantly recognizable riffs in rock.
CJ.
A song whose fame arrived almost entirely after the band that made it had stopped existing. Number 14, The Stooges, Search and Destroy, 1973.
I'm a street walking cheetah with a hat full of napalm.
Search and Destroy opens Iggy and the Stooges' 1973 album, Raw Power, like a threat. The song didn't chart. The album itself peaked at just number 182 on the Billboard 200, and the band's relationship with Columbia Records quickly deteriorated. The Stooges were commercially struggling, and before long, the band had effectively reached the end of the road. By almost any commercial measure, Raw Power looked like a failure.
Got him, boy, the one who searches and destroys.
It just happened to be a failure that would help change the sound of rock music. The musicians who actually heard it, Johnny Rotten, the Ramones, and countless others who would go on to shape punk rock, heard something different. They heard the future. The song's snarling guitar riff, relentless energy, and Iggy Pop's unhinged vocal performance became a blueprint for a new kind of rock music.
Gotta help me, please. Somebody gotta save my soul.
Music that didn't need polish, permission, or commercial approval. Search and Destroy didn't need chart success to become influential. It needed the right people to hear it. And by the time punk rock exploded a few years later, those people had heard it. The song may have been ignored by the charts, but the musicians who mattered were listening.
One who's searching only to destroy.
Number 13, The Doors, The End, 1967. The End, The Doors' 1967 debut album, as an 11-minute, hypnotic, unsettling piece of music, already notorious in its own era for its dark, Oedipal lyrics, which got the band fired from their residency at the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip. This was never an obscure song. Within the counterculture, it was already a legend, but its second life came from an accident.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
During the editing of Apocalypse Now in the late 1970s, Francis Ford Coppola was going through discarded footage and a stack of records left near the editing bay, among them the Doors' debut album. Struck by the dark joke of opening a war film with a song called The End, he set the track against the napalm-lit jungle and Martin Sheen's ceiling fan's stare, and it became one of the most famous needle drops in film history. That opening sequence didn't just use the song, it fused it permanently to the imagery of the Vietnam War, introducing The End to a generation of moviegoers who'd never heard of the Doors' original notoriety. A song that was already a cult classic became something closer to a cultural landmark, thanks to 4 minutes of film it wasn't written for. Number 12, David Bowie, Space Oddity.
Ground control to Major Tom.
David Bowie rushed Space Oddity out 5 days before the Apollo 11 launch in July 1969, hoping to ride the wave of moon landing mania. The BBC worried the song's story of an astronaut lost in space was poor taste if the mission went wrong, initially refused to play it, then used it in their Apollo 11 coverage once the astronauts were safely home.
Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
The song climbed to number 5 in the UK. It was Bowie's first hit, and then strangely, it was also his last for 3 years. As Bowie built the Ziggy Stardust persona and became a genuine star, none of his singles reached number 1. Not Starman, not the Gene Genie.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
It wasn't until 1975, 6 years after its original release, that RCA reissued Space Oddity on a budget compilation, and it finally climbed to number 1 on the UK chart. Bowie's first chart topper, delivered by the song that started it all, arriving 6 years late.
I'm stepping through the door, and I'm
Number 11, The Proclaimers, 500 Miles, 1988. When the Proclaimers released I'm Gonna Be in 1988, it did solid business at home, number 11 in the UK, number 1 in Australia, New Zealand, and Iceland. In America, it barely registered outside college radio.
Yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you.
5 years later, the 1993 romantic comedy Benny and June, starring Johnny Depp, put the song front and center on its soundtrack, and American audiences who'd never heard the Reed twins before turned it into a genuine hit. Sending it to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 that summer. It's a useful reminder that got bigger with time doesn't always mean a song failed. Sometimes it means a song succeeded in one country and had to wait years to succeed in another. Today, it's one of the most recognizable Scottish exports in music, all thanks to a film that had nothing to do with Scotland at all. Number 10, The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go, 1982.
Darling, you got to let me know.
It's easy to assume Should I Stay or Should I Go was always a Clash anthem. It wasn't, not at first. Released in 1982 on Combat Rock, it stalled at number 17 in the UK and didn't crack the American top 40 either.
You're happy when I'm on my knees.
Respectable, unremarkable, and nothing close to the signature hit it would eventually become.
Should I stay or should I go?
The band broke up in 1986. 5 years after that, in 1991, a Levi's 501 jeans commercial built around a pool hall bet used the song as its soundtrack, and the resulting reissue shot to #1 on the UK singles chart nearly a decade after its original release, and years after the band that made it no longer existed to enjoy it.
So there will be trouble, and if I stay,
It remains the Clash's only UK chart topper, and one of the clearest examples on this list of a song becoming what its own era never quite let it be.
so come on and let me know.
Number 9, The Killers, MrBrightside, 2003. Calling MrBrightside a flop would be wrong, but calling it an instant classic would be wrong too. The song was originally pressed as a limited 500-copy CD single in 2003, then reissued in 2004, where it peaked modestly at number 10 in the UK and dropped out of the top 100 within 4 weeks. That was, for a long time, the whole story.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all.
Then it simply refused to leave. Fueled by club nights, karaoke bars, and eventually streaming, MrBrightside kept quietly re-entering the UK singles chart for the next 2 decades. Not with any single dramatic comeback moment, but through sheer accumulated, ongoing devotion. Its single biggest week came in July 2019, spiking after the Killers' headline set at Glastonbury Festival. In 2024, Guinness World Records confirmed it as the longest charting song by a group in UK chart history, and the official charts company later crowned it the biggest selling single of all time in Britain, never to reach number 1.
He takes off her dress, now let me go.
It's the rare song whose "Got Bigger with Time" story isn't about rediscovery at all. It's about never really being put down in the first place.
With a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss. It was only a kiss. Now I'm falling
Number 8, The Righteous Brothers, Unchained Melody, 1965. Unchained Melody wasn't even supposed to be the hit. Bobby Hatfield won a coin toss for the chance to sing it as a B-side to Hung on You in 1965. And when radio DJs started flipping the single over, it climbed to number 4 on the Billboard chart anyway, on the strength of Hatfield's aching, unaccompanied vocal alone.
Your touch alone.
It stayed a beloved oldie for 25 years. Then in 1990, Ghost used the song to soundtrack its now iconic pottery wheel scene between Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, and the effect was seismic.
Still more.
The 1965 original re-entered the American charts, and a newly re-recorded version by the Righteous Brothers charted alongside it, making them the first act in music history to have 2 different versions of the same song on the Hot 100 at once.
I'll be coming home. Wait for me.
In the UK, the song shot all the way to number 1, becoming the best-selling single of 1990 in Britain. A quarter century after it was written off as a throwaway B-side, Unchained Melody became a bigger hit than it had ever been the first time around. Number 7, Journey, Don't Stop Believin', 1981. Don't Stop Believin' was already a hit when it came out, a top 10 single in the US off Journey's Escape album in 1981. It just wasn't the biggest song on the record. Open Arms actually charted higher. In the UK, it barely registered at number 62. For 25 years, it was a well-liked arena rock staple. Nothing more, nothing less. Then in June 2007, David Chase closed the entire six-season run of The Sopranos with the song playing over a diner scene that cut abruptly to black, arguably the most debated ending in television history.
Living in a lonely world, she took the midnight train.
2 years later, the cast of Glee covered it in the show's pilot episode, sending both versions racing up the charts simultaneously. The song became a rallying anthem for the 2005 World Series winning Chicago White Sox, the closing number of the Broadway musical Rock of Ages, and once iTunes existed, the best-selling digital track ever released in the 1980s.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that.
In 2022, the Library of Congress inducted it into the National Recording Registry, and by 2024, it had been certified 18 times platinum, more than any other song from the pre-streaming era. This is the difference between a hit and an institution. Don't Stop Believin' didn't need to be rediscovered. It was never lost. But between a television finale, a Glee club, and a generation raised on streaming, A Good Journey single became something closer to an unofficial American anthem.
Don't stop.
Before we continue, if you enjoy discovering the stories behind rock's greatest songs, make sure you subscribe to Rock Music Archives, because some of the most fascinating stories in music history aren't just about the songs themselves. They're about how those songs survived, returned, and found entirely new audiences decades later. And if you've already subscribed, thank you for being part of the Rock Music Archives family. Now let's continue, because the songs still ahead on this list only get bigger. Number 6, Nirvana, Something in the Way, 1991.
Underneath the bridge, top is sprung.
On Nevermind, Something in the Way was the quiet come-down at the very end of the record. A hushed, haunted acoustic track that closed out an album otherwise built on Smells Like Teen Spirit and In Bloom. It was never released as a single. Most casual Nirvana fans could tell you the hits before they could hum this one. That changed in 2022. Director Matt Reeves, who has said he was picturing an addict-like, reclusive Bruce Wayne, inspired partly by Cobain himself, built his brooding take on the character around the song, using it in The Batman's trailer and twice within the film itself.
Yes, 'cause they don't have any feeling.
In the 4 days following the movie's theatrical release, U.S. streams of the track jumped more than 700%, and it climbed into Spotify's daily top 5 songs in the country, 31 years after it was recorded, and for an audience that mostly wasn't alive when Cobain was. A deep cut nobody thought of as a Nirvana song became, almost overnight, one of the band's most streamed tracks of the modern era. Number 5, Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, 1977. Dreams was already Fleetwood Mac's only American number 1, the centerpiece of the era-defining Rumors album, and Stevie Nicks' own account of the band's tangled relationships playing out in real time. It didn't need rescuing. By any measure, it had already succeeded.
Well, who am I to keep you down?
But in September 2020, a warehouse worker named Nathan Apodaca posted a TikTok video of himself longboarding down an Idaho highway, drinking cranberry juice straight from the bottle, lip-syncing along to Dreams.
Happens when it's raining.
The clip exploded. Tens of millions of views within days. Recreations from Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks herself. Even a truck full of cranberry juice from Ocean Spray as a thank you. And the 43-year-old song re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 for the first time since its original run, posting its best-ever streaming week in the process. No film campaign, no advertising budget, no anniversary reissue. Just one guy, one skateboard, and a song that turned out to be exactly as good as everyone remembered.
Have you any dreams you'd like to sell?
Number 4, The Police, Every Breath You Take, 1983. This one needs no rediscovery narrative because it never went anywhere. Every Breath You Take was already massive the moment it arrived in 1983. 8 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, 4 weeks at number 1 in the UK, the biggest selling single of the year, and the only chart topper the Police ever had in America.
Every breath you take, and every move you make.
What makes it remarkable is what happened after. Sting wrote it, by his own account, as a dark, controlling, borderline sinister song about surveillance and obsession. Not the tender ballad millions of couples have chosen for first dances ever since. That mismatch between meaning and reception hasn't hurt it. If anything, it's helped the song become inescapable.
Every night you stay, I'll be watching you.
It swept the 1984 Grammys, winning Song of the Year, and in 2019, BMI officially recognized Every Breath You Take as the most played song in the history of American radio, an estimated 15 million spins and counting. This isn't a story of a forgotten song returning. It's a story of a massive hit that simply never stopped growing.
I'll be watching you.
Number 3, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, 1975.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Almost everyone at EMI thought Bohemian Rhapsody was commercial suicide. Nearly 6 minutes long, structured as a mock operatic suite with no chorus and 3 distinct sections, it broke every rule of what a single was supposed to be.
Mama just killed a man.
Radio DJ Kenny Everett got hold of an early copy and played it repeatedly on air before its official release, daring listeners to go and buy something that didn't officially exist yet. It worked. The song spent 9 weeks at number 1 in the UK over Christmas 1975, becoming the country's best-selling single of the year. That would have been enough for most songs. It wasn't enough for this one. In 1991, Freddie Mercury died of complications from AIDS, and Bohemian Rhapsody was rushed back onto the UK chart as a tribute.
This time tomorrow, carry on.
Hitting number 1 again, the first single ever to top the British charts twice with the exact same recording. The following year, the film Wayne's World built one of its most beloved scenes around headbanging along to the song in a car, introducing it to an entirely new American audience and sending it to a new US peak of number 2, 17 years after its original release.
I see a little silhouette of a man. Scaramouche, will you do the band?
And it still wasn't finished. The 2018 biopic of the same name turned Bohemian Rhapsody into the most streamed song from the 20th century, introducing it yet again to viewers who weren't alive for any of its previous 3 chart lives. The Library of Congress inducted it into the National Recording Registry in 2022, and it remains the UK's 3rd best-selling single of all time.
So you think you can stop me and spit my eye?
Very few recordings get to be reborn once. This one has been reborn 3 times, through radio daring, through grief, through comedy, and through cinema, and each time it came back bigger than before.
Nothing really matters to me.
Number 2, the Moody Blues, Nights in White Satin, 1967.
Just what the truth is, I can't say it.
When Nights in White Satin was released in 1967, it did fine. A UK number 19, a modest showing for a band still finding its identity after a lineup change. In America, it barely existed on the charts at all, peaking outside the top 100. 6-minute orchestral rock songs, no matter how beautiful, were a tough sell to radio programmers in 1967.
'Cause I love you.
By 1972, the world had caught up. Songs like Hey Jude and Layla had already proven that long, dramatic singles could be massive hits, and the Moody Blues themselves had become a genuine album rock force. When the song was reissued in the US that year, it soared to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on Cashbox.
Yes, I love
5 years after it was recorded, and finally matching the ambition of the record itself. It even charted in the UK twice more, in 1972 and again in 1979, becoming one of the only songs in chart history to become a hit 3 separate times in its original form. It's one of the purest examples on this list of a song that wasn't wrong for its moment. It simply arrived a few years before the moment was ready for it. Number 1, The Beatles, Twist and Shout, 1963. Let's be honest about this one. Twist and Shout was never obscure. Recorded in a single, desperate take at the very end of a 13-hour session for Please Please Me in February 1963, with John Lennon's voice already wrecked from a cold and cough drops, it captured a vocal performance he said he could never fully sing the same way again. It became an instant hit and a defining moment of early Beatlemania. A number 2 single in America, kept off the top spot only by another Beatles song. So this isn't a story about a forgotten song. It's a story about a song that simply refused to stay in 1963. 23 years later, in 1986, John Hughes built the entire centerpiece of Ferris Bueller's Day Off around it. Ferris hijacking a parade float in downtown Chicago, lip-syncing his way through the song while an entire city seems to fall in behind him. The scene sent Twist and Shout back onto the American charts more than 2 decades after its original release, introducing Lennon's ragged, one-take vocal to a generation of teenagers who weren't alive when the Beatles were still together. And it kept going. It's turned up in films, in adverts, in wedding receptions, in stadium sing-alongs, every single decade since. Not because anyone rediscovered it exactly, but because it never really left. That raw 13-hour session, one-take sandpaper throat vocal that almost didn't happen has now outlived the era that made it, the film that revived it, and very nearly everyone who was there to hear it the first time. Maybe that's the strange thing about great rock songs. They don't always belong to the moment they were created in. Sometimes the world needs years or decades to catch up with them. A song can be overlooked, rediscovered, reinterpreted, or simply handed down from one generation to the next. And when that happens, it doesn't just survive, it grows. That concludes our countdown of 15 rock songs that got bigger with time. Maybe that's the remarkable thing about great rock songs. They don't always belong to the moment they were created in. Sometimes they need years, sometimes decades, for the world to truly understand what they are. Whether revived by a film, rediscovered by a new generation, or simply refusing to fade away, every song on this list proved that great music lives far beyond the charts. And somewhere right now, another forgotten song may be waiting for its own second chance. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to subscribe to Rock Music Archives, where every song has a story, every legend has a history, and every record has a place in the archive. Tell us in the comments, which song had the greatest comeback, and which one deserved a place on this list? Until next time, this is Rock Music Archives. And remember, the archive never sleeps.